So welcome everyone. How we all doing today? I hope we all having a good day. And for those of you returning for another one of my videos, I want to say thank you. Teddy says thank you as well. And for those of you who are new to my channel, this is Skelly Bynature and I am Skelly. And today we're going to be doing a follow-up video from my wild lettuce tincture video. I did say one of these days, if I get a chance, I wanted to try a little something with a salve that I wanted to show you all how to make. So the things that we're going to need today is we're going to need a half a cup of beeswax, which I have here. One thing that I always do when I'm doing this is I always kind of shave off the beeswax. Melts a little faster by doing this process. The other thing that you're going to need is you're going to need I'm doing this recipe slightly different. So if you're doing an herbal salve and you're looking to do it with an essential oil and you're just looking to make a salve, then you're going to use a half a cup of beeswax and you're going to want 2 cups of oil. But this is an experiment that I'm trying, something a little different. So I'm going to be using, I have 1 cup of my wild lettuce tincture, which is an alcohol base, and then I'm going to be using 1 cup of grapeseed oil. That I have actually already sitting in here. And one of the things that I like to do in my process first is I like to heat up the oil first. So whether you're doing a 1 cup of tincture and 1 cup of oil or 2 cups of oil, the first thing that you want to do is I like to heat that oil up first before putting in the beeswax. If you want, you can mix them in together and then start heating it. I just find this method a little bit better because then the beeswax doesn't stick to the bottom. So when we're making this, one of the things that I'm going to give you a fair warning is go slow, take your time. We don't want to burn anything. We don't want to burn the beeswax. We don't want to burn the oil, burn anything around with the beeswax. So the last thing that we're going to need at the end is an essential oil. So if you're making an herbal salve and you're doing it with an oil in the beeswax, then the essential oil is what you're going to be using as your medicine part, whether you're going to use lavender as a calming agent. Today I'm using sage and I'm using mint. I'm going to be using 4 milligrams. When you're doing this, experiment as you're making this. Sometimes you want a little more of the essential oil. Sometimes you may want a little less. So that's the fun of doing this. You can play with things. Like I said, I'm playing with this today. Normally when I make my salve, it's 2 cups of oil, a half a cup with the beeswax, and then I do 4 milligrams of whatever essential oil or smell I want, or what it is that I'm using that salve for. So again, if you have any questions or you want to know what type of oils to go with to help with whatever ailment you're looking to take care of, let me know and I'll let you know what essential oils you can use. I am going to include my peppermint oil video down below. I'm also going to attach my wild lettuce tincture video down below, so that way if you're looking to do an essential oil, then you can learn how to do that. If you're going to be doing the wild lettuce tincture, like I said, which is an alcohol base, then you can see how that's done too. So we got this going. My oil should be fairly warm by now. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Now, so like I said, the first step that I like to do is I like to always heat up the oil first. And then that way I can put the beeswax in and hopefully it starts melting right away. Sometimes if you put the beeswax in and then the oil and then you turn it on, sometimes that beeswax kind of gets stuck to the bottom. It doesn't melt as well. So I'm going to start dropping in the beeswax. Okay, so I get that beeswax in there, and we're going to just give this time to melt, get that beeswax nice and melted. When you do this, just a couple little tips for you. One, anytime you're doing like a salve or something with beeswax, I highly suggest that you use like either older utensils or utensils that you're going to use strictly for doing things with beeswax. So these are things that I always use with beeswax. So that everything here. The reason is because no matter how much you clean it, the beeswax is always going to leave kind of a slight little film. And the other thing too is before you actually clean your utensils after we're done with this, do yourself a favor, do not wash it in your sink. That was a mistake I made one of the first times I did this. I turned around and I took everything, I put it in my sink, I burned in hot water, washed it all, and next thing you know, later on, I went to turn my sink on and my sink was draining slow. The reason is because that beeswax actually will continue to build up. It goes down your sink and hardens. So, again, be careful with that. So what I like to do is I just take a bucket of really, really hot water and I'll go outside and clean it by hand. It tends to be the best way to do it. So our beeswax is melting down a little bit. It does take some time. So just like I said, take your time. Don't go rushing it. Don't go turning the heat up. Just give it time. Allow it to melt. So the other thing too is when you're doing this process, make sure you have everything ready. What I mean by is like what you're going to put this in. Make sure you have it ready. Make sure you sterilize it as well. This is a salve. It's going to be sitting, whether it's out on a counter somewhere or in your bathroom. You can also make a couple little batches. I like to use little jars like this is what I normally use, and I fill up as many as I can. I take some and I throw some in the freezer, and then I take one of these and I just kind of stick it off to the side of my bathroom. And when you have it out, it's good for about 6 months. If you keep it in the freezer, it's good for a really long time. So that's one reason why I do it. Like I said, I'm running an experiment today, so I'm actually going to be using ice trays and my jars. That way I can have little pieces. I'm going to be handing some of this out to people for them to give it a try because, like I said, it's an experiment. I want to see different people with different ailments give this a try and see how well it works for them and if it works or not. So I'm going to be handing some of this out, so I'm going to be making smaller pieces for people to try. So if you are interested in trying it before you do this and you are around me, you can always hit me up and come on by, and I would love to give you a piece or 2 or 3, and you can give it a try yourself and see how it works for you before you actually get into doing this process. If you need to test it, when the beeswax done, if you want to take a test, just take a tablespoon, scoop out a little bit, throw it on a piece of parchment paper or something like that, let it and it's going to start to harden right away. And so what you can do is just test it on a piece of parchment paper or something like that, a plate or something, and see if it's the consistency that you're looking for. If it's a little hard, you're going to want to add a little more oil. If it's a little soft, you're going to want to add a little more beeswax. So that's what you're going to want to do. So we're getting close. The beeswax is almost completely melted. And so what we're going to do is once it's completely melted, we're going to pull it out. And when we pull the cup out, I'm going to add my essential oil. I'm going to give it a good stir stir it in, and then put it right into whatever you're going to do, whether it's the jars, whether it's like I'm going to do with the molds and the ice trays. You know, that's what you're going to want to do, is get it in right away, because like I said, once you pull this off the heat, it's going to start to harden up right away. So it doesn't take very long for it to harden. Okay, so my beeswax fully melted now, so I should be ready to be able to take this out. Like I said, as soon as you take this out, I get 4 milligrams of sage oil mixed with peppermint oil. I use sage and peppermint, one, because it does help with inflammation. So I'm going to pull this out, we're going to put this in, we're going to mix it up right away, we're going to get this poured in, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so I got it all poured out now. I was able to fill my 2 containers, as well as an entire tray with 4 spots left over on the ice cubes. So the next thing that we're going to do is, now we just got to let it sit and cool. And it's, like I said, it's going to start hardening up right away. I can already tell I get the right texture. Hard to see, but I got a little bit. That's just what spilled on my stove. So it looks like I have a pretty good consistency of what it is that I'm looking for. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all learned a little something today. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead, feel free, drop them down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope you guys all do me a favor, hit that like button down below as well. Share this video with anyone that you feel would be interested, or just share it in general. You never know who might actually be interested in this. As well as subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. There'll be a bunch more videos coming out, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. And until then, be beautiful, be awesome.